Hi guys, today's video is going to be about the 10 things that annoy me about that people say when you're riding, or when they find out you're riding. The number one thing that annoys me is people who say horse riding isn't a sport. Such an annoying thing. A lot of people, especially people who don't ride, don't consider horse riding a sport. I've got family who think it's not a sport, but it is. It's in the Olympics. It's a registered sport. It's exercise. It takes a lot of effort to ride a horse, and a lot of people don't get that, and that really bugs me. Um, number two thing is that people that say horse riding doesn't give you muscle. It does. It gives you so much muscle in your legs. I know this because my legs have increased by 2 inches. Okay, my legs, they used to be like sticks, and now they're growing outwards. They're getting big. Okay, that's not fat. I don't eat very much, so that's not fat. And then the number three thing that annoys me is people that say horse riding's a girl's sport. Oh my god, I hear this all the time, and especially because I'm one of the only guys that rides in Fife. There's only 4 guys that go to this yard that I go to. So, well, 4 kids my age, and then there's a couple of older guys, but that's about it. And most of the other guys are people who look after horses, not ride them. But it's such an annoying thing. It is not a girl's sport. And when you think of horse riding in the Olympics, you should think of all the male people who compete. There's John Whittaker, Scott Brash. There's loads of guys that compete in the Olympics for horse riding, so it's not a girl's sport. Lots of guys compete in this, so it's not a girl's sport at all. 4 is, oh my god, people who say it's just a horse, a dog's more interesting and stuff like that, and it's never just a horse, okay? That's like saying you're just a human, okay? It's got a personality. It's a living thing, okay? It's not it's not like a tree. You don't just look at a tree and you go, it's just a tree. It's no different from any other tree. It's not like that. You get different types of horses. You get different everything of horses. You get different heights, different weights. Horses that are used for different things. You get loads of different types of horses. So that's another thing that really annoys me. 5 is people who judge other people while they're riding. And I notice this a lot in shows. People that sit there on the sidelines, and they sit there and they go, oh, that was a fault, and that was a fault, and oh, they're not doing very well, are they? That really bugs me, especially because it makes me think, okay, I'm up next. What's going to happen when I'm sitting there on that horse? Because I'm not the best rider. I've only been riding for a few years. I'm not the best rider. So that makes me feel really self-conscious about what's going to happen when I'm on that horse and I'm going around. What are they going to be saying about me? The next thing is people who think horse riding is easy, okay? And this applies to the types of people that have been to a beach or somewhere, and they've like Blackpool or somewhere, and they've ridden a donkey, okay? Or they've went round a riding school being led or something like that for ages, and they're like, oh, it's easy, I've done it once. And it's like, no, you haven't. You've sat there on a horse and had someone else do all the work. You've never had to sit on, I don't know, a Highland pony that requires so much kicking that your legs ache by the end of it. Oh, it bugs me. Because horse riding can be painful, okay? I've had lessons where I've come out of them and I've been almost in tears. My legs have hurt that much. It's really hard work, but it's worth it, but it's really hard work. Number 7 is people who brag. So many people I know who just sit there and they're like, my horse is the best, They're like, and it's a lot of the times it is girls that do it, okay? I'm not gonna lie. Not many of the guys say, oh I have the best horse in the world, okay? And it's not a sexist thing, okay? But a lot of girls, there is high competition, okay? if a yard was all guys, I don't think there would be too much competition, but when it's all girls, it is high competition, you know, lots of bitching, lots of that, it's just lots of competition. I know they just rub each other up the wrong way, it's not nice. Next thing is people who think that horse riding is only for posh people or people with money, okay? Now this really bugs me because a lot of my friends who ride, they're not actually posh people. They don't come from a high family. They're not Lord and Lady Poshington from down the road. They're like, they're just regular people, you know. They live in the middle of a city or a town. Their parents, they don't own a horse, you know. You don't have to own a horse to go horse riding. You can go to a riding school and you can say, can I have a lesson? I mean, you don't have to own a horse to go horse riding. And that's what a lot of people mistake, is they think, oh, if I wanted to go horse riding, I'd really need to get a horse, wouldn't I? But no, you don't. You can use someone else's. You can loan. You can do so many things. You don't have to own a horse to go horse riding. Number 9, people who think horses are easy to look after. They're not. Okay, they're not. If you think horse riding's or having a horse or looking after horses is a hobby, it's not. It's definitely not. Because you will have to spend at least 1 hour, okay? And that's a challenge at 1 hour. You need to muck out. You need to brush your horse, put your horse out, bring your horse in. And then there's hoof care, riding it. You need more than 1 hour. You need 1 hour just to muck out and brush your horse alone. At least half an hour to bring in all the time. If you're bringing that horse in, you're changing its rugs, you're putting it in the stable, that takes a lot of time. Then there's tacking up. Then there's actually riding it. There's so much, and then there's giving it hay. There's so much, and you just don't think of it. I mean, when I started horse riding, I thought, oh, this will be easy. I didn't think it would be that much. I thought other people would do it. I thought that the yard groom would do it, you know. You tend off to it. No. You've got to do some of these things yourself. You can't just rely on somebody else to do it all the time. Unless you have a lot of money, in which case, yes, you can. But, yeah, unless you're absolutely loaded, then, yeah, you can't do that. Number 10, and the final thing, is people who don't look after their horses properly. You know, the types of people that buy an unbroken horse, okay, and they think it'll be easy to look after. It won't. You know, you're stupid for thinking that, because looking after an unbroken horse, okay, 1, is it scared of people? Could it be scared of people? It's not had someone on its back. It's for all intents and purposes, it's a wild horse, okay? And looking after a wild horse ain't gonna be easy. In fact, looking after a horse, period, ain't gonna be easy. Yeah. So if you say you did get a horse and it was broken, okay, now just think, if you don't look after it, okay, if you work all the time, if you're like, I don't know, 9 to 5, 7 days a week, or 6 days a week, whatever, okay, and you've got kids, and you've got other animals, stuff like that, have you got time for a horse? You've not really, have you? Because if you think about it, if you're working 9 to 5, 6 days a week, you've got kids, your kids would want to see you on the weekend. If you've got other animals like a dog needs walking too. Any other animals like chickens, even fish, anything, you've got to take it all into consideration. And can you afford one? Okay, that's the final thing, because my family, we can't afford a horse, okay? And like, I accept this. I've grown to accept this, okay? We're never going to be able to afford a horse anytime soon right now, okay? Because it's a lot of money, okay, just in vet's bills alone. I mean, if you call the vet out to see your horse, it's at least £100, because they're having to drive out to see your horse, and then they've got to do all the stuff with it. It's going to cost a lot of money, and if your horse has to get an operation, That's a lot of money. Um, I know this because I've worked on a yard before and I've seen people who get the reaction from the vet's bills and they're like, whoa, that's a lot of money. But yeah, it's a lot of money. So you've got to take all these things in consideration before you get a horse. It's so much work. And you cannot just sit there and be like, oh, it's nothing, we'll just get the horse, we'll keep it in the back garden, it'll be fine. It won't. You've got to insure it, and you've got to pay for its food. It can't just live on grass. I mean, it needs feed, it needs hoof care, it needs rugs, it needs a stable, somewhere dry, so much, okay? And you can't provide all those things with a little patch of grass in the back of your house, can you? Unless you put it in the garden shed, but I doubt you'd be able to fit it in the garden shed. So yeah, and that's the 10 things that annoy me.